Welcome to the Connection Matters podcast. I'm your host, Leona Johnson. In this podcast, we explore the intricate weave of consciousness, empowerment, connection to the sacred, and cultural emergence. I believe that now, more than ever, we're being called to craft a new story, one of community, deep listening, creative potential, cultural repair, and an embodied understanding of the interconnected web of all things. Let's do the work together so that we can move forwards with authenticity and integrity, knowing that we're contributing to a healthy, regenerative culture for future generations. My mission with this podcast is to inspire and empower you to step into this vision for life. Each episode, I'll bring you thought-provoking conversations with leading voices in the field, but you'll also find solo episodes where I dive deep into my passion, connected self-leadership and everyday spirituality, giving you actionable tools to integrate into your daily life. Subscribe now on your favourite podcast platform if you haven't already, and if you enjoy the show, please share it with those who would appreciate it. It really helps when you do. You can also leave a review on Apple Podcasts to help others find us who might need that dose of hope and inspiration. Finally, to get notified straight into your inbox, feel free to sign up to the mailing list in the show notes below. This is also where I share weekly inspirational thoughts and any downloadable freebies that I talk about during the episode. My aim is to serve. I am so grateful that you are here. Well, hello there. It is good to be here with you again. So, over the last few weeks on this podcast, we've been talking a lot about orienting, haven't we? About wintering well, slowing down, consolidating, and that still matters. I really believe that all those things are the energy of now. But I can also start to feel a shift in myself, and maybe you can feel it too. So I want to talk about something different today. I want to talk about gathering. So here's what I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to talk about why we need each other, really need each other, and how easy it is to forget that, or to assume that everyone else has their people sorted. I'm going to share some personal stories about when my own world got a bit too small and what helped me widen it again. And I'm going to give you some really practical, doable ideas for strengthening your web of human connection, things that you could actually do this week if you wanted to. And then towards the end, I'm going to offer you some guidelines about how to listen and reflect well in groups, because honestly, I think this is one of the key problems in our society, and I know that it changes everything when it's done well. The quality of attention that we bring is the culture that we create. So that's where we're going. Stick with me. Right, so here's the thing. We are relational beings, aren't we? We regulate, we heal, we remember who we are in relationship. That's just how we're wired. And yet, it's surprisingly easy to believe that we're on our own, isn't it? Even when we're not. There's this thing that happens in adult life, maybe you've noticed it too, where we just quietly drift apart from people who once really mattered, not through conflict or drama, just drift. Life gets busy, people move, patterns change, and suddenly you realise it's been 2 years since you spoke to someone that you used to see every week. And I think one of the quiet tragedies of our culture is this illusion of independence as a virtue. You know, like not wanting to bother people, assuming everyone else is too busy or already has their friendship groups all sorted. Assuming that reaching out would be, I don't know, like needy or inconvenient. But here's what I've learnt. When life wobbles, and it does wobble for all of us, it's often not insight that we're missing. It's not another book or a podcast or a moment of clarity. It's a strong enough web to catch us. And many people are quietly lonely right now. Single friends, older people, people on the edges of community, people who are busy but undernourished relationally. And if you're someone who finds yourself on the outside, you're not broken. You're really not. And you're not alone either in that experience. So, what I want to say is this. If you haven't spoken to someone deeply in ages, maybe now's the time. If you're one of those people feeling a bit on the edge, maybe reach out to others who might be too, because we need each other, and we don't strengthen our webs in crisis. We strengthen them before we need them. Now, strengthening the web doesn't have to mean starting a massive community project or hosting a retreat or doing anything grand. It really doesn't. It can be as simple as hosting a dinner, a shared meal with a simple intention, or a regular walk, or a once a month kitchen table gathering. I picked up a murder mystery game in a charity shop the other day, and I'm absolutely on that. I mean, it doesn't have to be deep all the time, does it? It just has to be shared. It just has to bring people together in the same room, doing something together. And you know what? Joy. Joy matters as much as depth. Laughter matters. Silliness matters. Culture is created through repetition, and warmth grows through reliability. So it's not about having the perfect gathering or the most meaningful conversation every time. It's about showing up. It's about creating something regular and warm that people can rely on, that you can rely on. Maybe it's a monthly soup night. Maybe it's a craft evening. Maybe it's watching a film together and talking about it afterwards. Maybe it's just 3 people meeting for a walk every few weeks. The form doesn't matter as much as the intention behind it. And I want to tell you something that I'm not particularly proud of, but I think it's important. For a few years, a while ago, I got very specific about who I spent my time with. I'd been doing a lot of new learning and personal growth and deepening. And so I wanted to surround myself by people who understood that and understood the value of gratitude at the beginning of things, and people who went into nature, and people who were doing personal growth work, people who got it as I was getting it. And in some ways that was good. It meant I was in spaces where I felt seen and understood, and where I didn't have to explain myself constantly. But my world became a lot smaller. I had a richness in some ways, but I'd narrowed it. And there became much fewer perspectives. So there was less friction. But actually, that meant less aliveness. Just think about that for a minute, because it's taken me a while to come to terms with that we need diversity, and we need the challenge to be able to see ourselves and grow, and we need the different generations of people to mix with, and the different people from the different communities, and people who we don't know who don't know us and might be nothing like us, but who are actually very nice, actually. I live in what is in many ways quite an idyllic community. There's lots of alternative events, there's singing groups and nature clubs and Steiner School and all of that, and it's amazing. It really is. But I think that I'd become sheltered. And then a couple of years ago, I went to an event in Manchester celebrating BAME culture, Black and minority ethnic culture, youth project. And I was so blown away by the acts, by the energy, by the message. There was art and music and vitality and perspectives that were celebrating all the things I was celebrating, unity and love and community. And And I realised how much I'd missed and how much richness still exists outside my comfortable bubble. And I came home and thought, God, we have all this freedom and we have access to all of this culture and difference and community expression, and how amazing, what a gift. And I've been living in quite a narrow slice of it for lots of reasons. But that was my realization in that moment, and it was big. And it's been different since then. But here's what I want to ask you. What could you go and see that's new and different where you live? Is there a theatre you've never been to, or an arts centre, or a community celebration, or something that stretches your edges a little bit? What could you attend that would introduce you to people and perspectives that you don't normally encounter? Because that's where some aliveness might be found. That's where we grow. And here's the other thing. If the thing that you're longing for doesn't exist, that might be your invitation. Maybe there's a group you've always meant to go to and haven't. Maybe there's a circle or a gathering that sounds good, but you keep putting it off. Go. Just go. Or maybe the thing that you want doesn't exist at all, and maybe that means it's yours to create. No, I don't mean you have to start something massive, but what if you gathered 2 or 3 people you used to know or still know but don't see enough, and set a monthly or 6-weekly check-in, either in person or on Zoom? It doesn't really matter which. And 3 is a really great number, actually. It holds diversity without becoming unwieldy, and it means no one person has to carry the energy, and it creates a kind of relational holding that's really powerful. I can't remember if I've shared on this podcast before, but I have a couple of friends that I've known since I was 16 or in my 20s. And over the years, we've had our challenges like any close friendship does. And we moved apart geographically. But we stayed connected through motherhood, through awakening, through spiritual evolution. And in lockdown, you know, that strange suspended time, the 3 of us, Calda and Jane, hello, if you're listening, and me, we set up these regular gatherings. And quite honestly, they've been one of the biggest joys and one of the biggest sources of belonging for me. And here's how it works. Every week we share voice notes about our lives on WhatsApp, what's happening, what we're sitting with, what's alive for us. And then each of us listens. I usually listen when I'm on my way to somewhere in the car or doing the dishes. And then we offer reflections and encouragement. No judgment, no unwarranted advice, just good listening and beautiful reflections and genuine connection. Sometimes we join a Zoom and we're each drinking a glass of wine or whiskey. Sometimes we're on tea and we do a ceremony together to set intentions for the coming weeks. And it's different somehow to just calling a friend, because I think the intention holds it together. The structure creates a kind of sacred space. The weekly rhythm means that we stay current with each other's lives in a way that's hard to do otherwise. And what moves me the most is the quality of presence that I feel. There's no fixing, no rushing to solve each other's problems, no spiritual bypassing, just being with what is, witnessing each other, celebrating the wins and holding the hard stuff together. And that web that has caught me more times than I can count, honestly. And I've had the privilege of catching them too. So now I want to offer you something really practical, which are some simple guidelines for this kind of listening and reflecting that you might choose to adopt. Because I genuinely believe that the quality of attention that we bring is the culture that we create. Whether you're in a friendship group or starting something new or just wanting to be more present with the people already in your life, these practices really matter. So, first, the key thing I really believe more than anything else is that you listen to understand, not to respond. And this is harder than you think, right? Most of us, while someone's talking, we're already planning what we're here to say. We are forming our reply. We're thinking about our own similar experience. But real listening means letting all that go. It means being genuinely curious about what the other person is experiencing. And it means letting pauses exist without rushing to fill them. The second thing that I think is a key guideline here is about reflection, not fixing. When someone shares something vulnerable or difficult, our instinct is often to jump in with advice, to make it better, to solve it. But in my experience, personally, and through holding many groups and through coaching, is that what people need most, 90% of the time, unless they ask for something different, is to be heard, to be seen. So instead of offering solutions, try mirroring back what you've heard by literally just naming the feelings that you've heard expressed and the themes. Something like, it sounds like you're feeling really overwhelmed, or gosh, I'm really hearing that. Wow. It's not complex. It's about recognizing that something's been said and acknowledging it. And here's the thing, only offer advice if it's explicitly invited. Otherwise, trust that the other person knows their own life better than you do. And really allow them that space to work things out. The taking of the thoughts from the mind to the words in the presence of someone who they know loves them and cares for them is often all that is needed for someone to go, and I know that I'm being stupid. I just need to go back and say sorry, or whatever it is. We all have an innate wisdom, and when you are holding someone through that process, they will find theirs. The third guideline for having a group like this, if you want to really hold a deep space for yourself and the other, is that you speak from your own experience. This means no you should statements, no comparisons, no spiritual bypassing. If someone shares something and it reminds you of your own experience, you can offer that. When I went through something similar, what helped me was, but hold it lightly, because your experience is yours, not theirs. Theirs is theirs. And watch out for that impulse to make everything okay, or to put a positive spin on things before the person's even finished feeling what they're feeling. That's bypassing, and it shuts down real connection. It shuts down the processing that is so helpful in letting people work things through, even if they're saying a kind of outrageous things that they don't really mean. Having the space to say it and then talk themselves through it is really powerful. Having someone else tell them the way it should be, it's limiting. The fourth guideline is about holding confidentiality as sacred. And this one is non-negotiable. What's shared in the circle stays in the circle. Safety creates depth, trust builds over time. And the moment someone feels like their story might be shared elsewhere, that safety disappears. So be someone people can trust. Be the kind of presence that makes it safe to be real. Fifth guideline is keep the rhythm. Regularity matters more than length. Consistency builds the web. It's better to meet for an hour every month and keep that commitment than to plan these long, elaborate gatherings that never quite happen. Even if it's just a 15-minute check-in on Zoom, even if it's a voice note, the rhythm creates the container and the reliability builds the culture. And you know what? This kind of listening is a radical act in a culture addicted to opinions. In a world where everyone's shouting their views and trying to be heard, the simple act of really listening, of being genuinely present with another person is, in my opinion, revolutionary. So, here's where I want to leave you today. We don't strengthen our webs in crisis. We strengthen them before we need them. And then we know they're there when the time is needed. And I want to invite you to sit with a few questions. You don't have to answer them now and you don't have to share them with anyone, but just hold them gently and see what comes up. Who haven't you spoken to in a long time? Someone who matters, someone you've been thinking about, someone you keep meaning to reach out to but haven't. And where might you reach out? What small gesture of connection could you make this week? What small gathering could you host? Not perfect, not elaborate, just something. A meal, a walk, a conversation. And what culture do you want to be part of or help create? What kind of relational space do you long for? Because maybe that's yours to begin. We need each other. We really do. And it's easier than we think to begin. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. And if this episode landed for you, I'd love it if you would share it with someone who might need to hear it too. You can find more resources and reflections on my website and in the show notes below. And if you're not already on my mailing list yet, come and join us. I send out weekly inspiration and practical tools for connected self-leadership and everyday spirituality. So until next time, take good care and maybe reach out to someone right now. I'd love to hear how you get on. You can always connect with me on Instagram or email. I always respond and I love to hear from you. Have a beautiful day. Thanks for tuning in to Connection Matters podcast. I hope today's episode inspired and empowered you to deepen your connection to yourself, others, and the world around you. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment to subscribe, share it with those who might benefit, and leave a review. It really helps others to discover the podcast. You can also join our mailing list to stay updated with new episodes, inspiring thoughts, and free resources designed to support your journey. Together, we can build a more connected, compassionate world, one conversation at a time. Until next time, stay connected, stay inspired, and keep creating the future that you want to live in. Go well, beautiful human.